All right, I'm going to say it right off the bat. With this episode, it feels like we are stalling. We are halfway through the final season of The Boys, and somehow we're still introducing brand new storylines, resolving them in the same episode, and then barely moving forward with the plot. Now, there's some really good stuff here, but there's also some choices that just don't make a whole lot of sense. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Surfing the Stream. My name is Matt, and we are here for another review of The Boys Season 5, and we are doing episode number 4 today. Full spoilers from this point forward, so if you have not caught up through episode 4, this is your chance to push pause and come back once you have caught up. This episode is really a mixed bag for me. There are some really strong character moments, especially with Homelander, as per the usual. But then there are some storylines here that feel rushed, unnecessary, and oddly placed this late in the game. So it's no secret that I think Homelander is probably the best overall character of The Boys. So we're going to start right there with what is probably the most interesting aspect of this episode. I'm kind of surprised that they have not explored this whole God Messiah angle a little bit sooner than season 5, but I'm oddly down for it this late in the game as to what they're going to do with this whole God Messiah angle that they're going with for the rest of the season. He's always craved love, validation, approval, and all that. But this feels a little bit different. And honestly, this could get really interesting because now they're blending his already fractured mental state with this idea that he might actually start believing that he's something more than human. And the big question here is, does this make him more arrogant, or does it actually make his need for love even worse? Because at the core of it, Homelander is still that insecure, approval seeking person underneath all of that power. Now, let's talk about Starlight for just a minute, because this is where I start to really have issues with this episode. And I kind of see where a lot of the reviews for The Boys was scoring this a little bit lower in comparison to the other seasons. And it was because of storylines, virtual moments, feeling like we weren't really wrapping things up. And Starlight's one of those issues for me. She goes to visit her dad, who, by the way, left her like 20 years ago. I'm going to be honest with you. I never really thought about her dad up until this moment that they showed her. I was like, oh, yeah, we have never explored that before. That's interesting. I never thought about her dad once in this show. But what do we get here? This guy still doesn't care for her. He barely acknowledges her when she first arrives, and he just goes back to shoveling snow like nothing ever happened. But what we have here is, and maybe it's just me, but we have this moment where she shows up. He acts like he doesn't give a shit about her. But then later on in this episode, they're all and back to being, father and daughter again. And it's just mixed signals from him throughout this entire episode. So I don't know if he was written as well as he could have. But anyways, then out of nowhere, we find out she also has a brother. And I'm sitting here thinking, why are we introducing this now in the final season? This feels like a storyline that should have been introduced maybe last season or the season before, because this is a pretty big deal for her character. Now, to be fair, there are some interesting elements here that I do like. Like her dad's wife is the only one who seems warm to her. That dynamic actually works for me, but then we get the explanation for why her dad left, and I'm sorry, the whole reasoning of why he left is just complete nonsense. That's your excuse. That is what we came up with for why her dad abandoned her. Was your mom told you you were God, you believed it, I couldn't lie to you. That is crazy. As a father, that is one of the worst, I guess, excuses to give not only just anybody, but like a character in general. It's just, to me, lazy writing. And then after one conversation, everything's okay, everything's fine. I don't buy that at all. It feels like they introduced a major emotional storyline and then just wrapped it up immediately. No build up, no payoff. And honestly, you could remove this entire subplot from this episode and nothing really changes. It was legitimately a waste of time for season 5 to deal with this, unless there was something down the pipeline coming with this storyline. As of now, I just don't see the point. Now, on the flip side of things, we got to talk about the Deep for just a second. I don't talk about him enough, but he might be the most underrated character in the entire series. He hasn't had a ton to do this season and really like the last couple of seasons. But his scenes in this episode were absolutely hilarious. His interaction with Black Noir has been very well done over the course of this final season. But this episode is more specifically hilarious than all the others. I think the fact that Noir straight up calls him a dumbass, basically, and then the Deep immediately proves it by saying dog eat dog world instead of dog eat dog, it killed me. Like, I legitimately laughed out loud during this scene. And then they continue this interaction with him calling Bro v Wade. Look, I've said broski, brosive, brotato chip. I've heard all these different words to call someone a bro. Bro v Wade is the first time I've heard of that. And I'm going to use that from now on. Just pure gold, this entire scene. Chace Crawford absolutely nails this role. He plays the Deep with just the right mix of like insecurity, arrogance, and a complete lack of self-awareness. He is honestly one of the most entertaining characters that we have seen in The Boys. I just wish they would have given him more to do over like the last couple of seasons. And then we get this little subplot with the Spores when the Boys and Homelander Soldier Boy go to Fort Harmony. The Spores are making everyone more aggressive towards each other. And look, this is nitpicking a little bit, but this whole episode felt a little gimmicky with the whole spores thing. It felt like something that you would see in an episode of Supernatural. Now, Eric Kripke is the creator of this show, so there's that. Now, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's fine. It serves its purpose, but it definitely feels like a monster of the week type concept that I'm not so sure that we should be exploring in the final season. Like, if you'd have done this last season or season 2, okay, you can make that argument and I would allow it. But in the final season, it just seems like a little gimmicky. But I'm nitpicking, so I'll just say that. But back to the good stuff. Homelander, Soldier Boy, this dynamic continues to be one of the strongest parts of the season. Up to this point, Soldier Boy has been the one constantly talking down to Homelander, calling him weak, pathetic, all that. But the second that Homelander fires back, what happens? Soldier Boy locks him up. Dude is not taking his shit whatsoever. Throws him in a suit-proof cell that he can't escape from, and finally admits that he can't stand him and actually hates his fucking guts. That moment was great because it flips the power dynamic in a really interesting way. For once, Homelander is not the one in control, and you can see how much that affects him in this particular scene. So overall, I think this is an okay episode. I didn't hate any of the time that I spent watching it, but it's definitely one of those episodes where it's like, okay, could we have done something a little bit differently with our time to make it more meaningful, more towards the characters or the story? There are definitely some strong moments, especially with Homelander and Soldier Boy, but there's also a lot here that just feels unnecessary. My biggest issue is the lack of focus. We keep deviating from that main storyline. At this point, I don't understand why. And let's be real here. How many times are these characters going to come face to face with Homelander and he doesn't kill any of them? Logically, it just does not make sense anymore. Like, I would be willing to suspend my sense of belief for the first few seasons, but now we have gotten to the point where Homelander is willing to kill all of these motherfuckers, but they continue to get out of these situations unscathed. It feels like we're treading water when we should be ramping things up. So yeah, solid moments, but overall a pretty mixed episode for me. But guys, let me know down in the comments below what you thought about episode 4. Is this season working for you? Is this episode better than what I'm giving it credit for? Let me know down below. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. That's really going to help us out, and we would greatly appreciate it if you did that. But that's going to be it for me. I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.